Hello, my name is Lilian Okibe. Welcome to my channel. When I first started my locks, I watched so many videos and people were always talking about lint and build up and I have lint in my locks and things like that. And I used to wonder why people were so obsessed with preventing lint and build up. But now that I have locks, I understand why. Because when you have lint and build up in your locks appear dirty even when you just washed it. The best thing you can do is to prevent them rather than cure, because once you have them, they are really difficult to get rid of, and in some cases you may never be able to fully eliminate them. So I have been locked for almost 9 months. I'm going to be 9 months locked in a few days, and so far I have been able to prevent lint and build up. As you guys can see, my locks are pretty much lint free and build up free. So in this video I'm going to be sharing with you guys what you can do to prevent lint and build up. So if you're just starting out, if you're just starting your lock journey, you definitely want to keep on watching, because I'm going to be sharing some tips that are going to be really helpful. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then definitely keep on watching. We're first going to start with things you can do to prevent lint, and then we'll move on to things you can do to prevent build up. Many of these things are similar. Like if you try as much as you can to prevent lint, in a way you can also prevent build-up, because most of the things that cause build-up also attract lint. So let's start with lint. The first thing you can do to prevent lint is actually paying attention to what you use to dry your locks, especially like when you just wash your locks. Many people do not pay attention to what they use to dry their locks on wash days, and like a lot of times, it's what you use to dry your locks that contributes a lot to the lint in your hair. I see so many people dry their locks with regular towels, and the thing about that is that those towels have, especially if they are new towels, many towels have fibers that come out like after months, like at least a few months after use. I don't know. So if you're using those kinds of towels, there's a high chance that you're going to be introducing lint into your locks. Personally, I don't dry my hair with a towel. Like I let my hair dry, air dry. I just squeeze the excess water and I let it be and let it air dry. I find that this works best for me. But you don't have to do that. You just have to pay attention to the kind of fabric you're using to dry your hair. It's better for you to use a microfiber towel. And it's not even just about microfiber towel. Like when you have loose natural hair, people talk about microfiber towels and things like that, but the thing is you can still get lint from microfiber towels. So I would say that it's better for you to use a t-shirt, and use a black t-shirt so that if for one reason or the other you have part of the fabric of the shirt get into your locks, because it's black, it's going to be easier to mask, and it's not going to form those like linty look that most people usually have when they have lint in their locks. So I recommend that if you cannot do what I do, dry your hair with a t-shirt, a t-shirt that you can see that it has no fibers or fabrics, that is like basically smooth, a regular t-shirt, and make sure that it's black, or like the natural color, the color of your hair basically. So I know that not everyone has black hair, so make sure that the t-shirt is the color of your hair, and that will make it easier for you to prevent lint when you dry your locks. The next thing that you can do to prevent lint is try not to go outside. Like try not to go out with wet locks. Many people do not realize that when your hair is wet, it is actually more prone to attracting stuff, right? So I try as much as I can. Like I cannot 100% prevent this, but I try as much as I can to make sure that my hair is dry before I go out. Like it doesn't have to be 100% dry, but not like soaking wet that is going to be attracting stuff. Of course you can go out with damp hair. That's not a problem. I go out with damp hair all the time, but going out with wet hair, like really wet hair, just straight from shower, just stepping outside, is not actually the best, because depending on where you live, if you live in a very dusty and airy environment, you're going to have so many particles in the atmosphere, and if you have wet hair, there's a high chance that those particles is going to be attracting, your hair is going to be attracting those particles, and because your hair is wet, those particles will sit on your hair and probably dry inside, like in your hair, right, and form lint over time, and form lint build up over time. So I highly recommend that you try as much as you can not to go out with wet hair. Dry your hair, wait till your hair is like maybe damp before you step outside. Or go, except the only way I feel like you can go out with wet hair is if it is really sunny outside. So if you know that within like 1 hour or like 1 hour 30 minutes or 2 hours your hair is going to be dry, even if it's wet, then you can go out with wet hair. But generally I would say that you should try as much as you can not to go out when your locks are wet. Then another thing that you can do to prevent lint is to reduce the amount of product you use to the minimum. Like, make sure that when you apply products in your hair, you have zero transfer. Like, if after applying products in your hair, you can dig your hand into your hair and have like obvious product transfer on your hands, that's a high sign. That's a sign that you have used too much product. When you have a lot of products in your locks, it generally attracts dirt and fabric, like pieces of fabric and, you know, particles and things like that. So reduce the amount of products you apply, especially if your products are, it doesn't matter the kind of products you use. Basically, just reduce the quantity of products you apply on your locks, so that your locks are not going to be prone to attracting particles and things like that. Another thing you can do to prevent lint is to mind where you lay your head, especially when you're just in the house, when you're, you know, lounging around in the house. Mind where you lay your head. Many people are very, very careless when they're in the house. They protect their hair at night when they want to sleep and all that, but when they're just in the house lounging around, they are very careless. You see them lying on different kinds of fabric that obviously have lint. You know those kinds of cardigans and those kinds of blankets and those kind of things, you know, that have fibers that you can see that those fibers can get in your locks. Try as much as you can to stay away from them. Now, what many people do is once they get inside the house, they put on a bonnet or they put on a scarf. Personally, I don't like to do that, because now, since when I had my locks, like, wearing scarves and bonnets and stuffs have become very uncomfortable for me, because my hair is thick already, you know. So when I put on another, where I live in Nigeria is a hot country, right? So by the time I go ahead and put on another head covering with all this hair, it's just uncomfortable, and I feel like it's hot, right? So I don't really wear scarves and bonnets and things like that. But what I do is I have a satin pillowcase that I use, and everywhere I go around the house, if I know that I'm going to be lying down or like just resting my head and things like that, I take that pillow everywhere. I take it everywhere, so that when I want to lie down, I lie down on the satin pillow, so that my hair is only coming in contact with that satin and not any other fabric. So I try, that is how I try as much as I can to prevent lint from getting into my hair when I'm in the house. So you can give that a try, or you can go for wearing a bonnet or a scarf when you're in the house. Now, the next thing that will help you to prevent lint, and this is also very similar to the previous point, is to protect your locks at night. Very, very important. When you sleep, because most times we know that our sheets and like our blankets and stuff don't have the best, like the most friendly fabric when it comes to our locks, right? Many of them have, you know, cottony chunks and stuff that can get into our locks. So when you want to sleep at night, it's very, very important for you to protect your locks at night. You can wear a scarf, you can wear a bonnet, you can wear a do-rag, or you can use a satin pillowcase. Like I said, I prefer using a satin pillowcase because I don't really like covering my hair. So that's what I do. I make sure that I always sleep on a satin pillowcase. Now, I'm not a rough sleeper, so I'm not one of those people that start to sleep with their head on the pillow and then wake up with their head somewhere else. Like, I'm not a rough sleeper, so that's not a problem for me. I sleep on the pillow and I wake up on my pillow, you know. So if you're someone that is really, really rough, then this technique may not work for you. Sleeping on a satin pillowcase may not be the best option for you, because you know they are going to be moving around on the bed. So it would be advisable for you to go for something like a scarf or maybe a do-rag or a bonnet. So look into that, but just make sure that you protect your hair and keep your hair away from fabrics that can cause lint in your locks. Another thing I do, and I feel like many people do not talk about this enough, and I feel like this is so important, is do not underestimate the power of shaking your locks. Like, a lot of times, most times, we have particles and like pieces of fabric and stuff that get on our locks. We cannot prevent it. They are in the atmosphere. They will get settled on your locks. Like, there's really nothing you can do. But if you make it a habit to always do this, I don't want to scatter my hair, you know, because I have like cute bang action going on here, but make it a habit to always shake, especially when your hair is dry, right? When you go out, especially when you just get inside your house, shake your hair. This will help to remove all the particles of dust and lint and stuff that may have accumulated on your hair all through the day. and this will prevent them from getting into the lock, because when they first get on your hair, right, they remain on the surface of your locks. So as soon as you shake your locks, you're most likely going to be able to get rid of most of them, right? But if you wait longer, after a while, those particles become intertwined with your locks, and eventually become embedded in your locks, and that will make it very difficult for you to take out. So always make sure you shake your locks every opportunity you get. It doesn't really have to be only when you get home. Even when you're on the road, you pass through maybe an environment where you can see that it's really dusty and you have a lot of particles in the atmosphere. When you are done from that place, shake your hair, shake. It's always a good idea, and this is something that I feel like can really help you to prevent lint. Another thing that will help you to prevent lint is for you to choose your clothes wisely, and for you to style your locks according to the kind of clothes you're wearing. Now, if your locks are very short, no matter how short your locks are, most times you're going to have locks that are, at least they can touch your neck a little bit, right? So if you're wearing something like maybe a turtleneck cardigan that has, you know, the fabric, you know that it has a lot of lint on it, obviously that lower part of your locks will be rubbing against that fabric, and that can introduce lint into your locks. So make sure that you choose your clothes wisely. If you like to wear your locks down and rubbing on your clothes, you want to make sure that you're wearing clothes that are like silk, satin, and things that are not necessarily going to introduce lint into your locks. Or you stick with a color that, even if the lint gets into your lock, it's the color is like similar to the color of your hair, and so it will not be an issue, right? Another thing you can do is, if at all, because I cannot say that because you have locks you should not wear certain fabrics. So what you can do is, when you want to wear those kinds of clothes, style your hair up, put your hair up so that your hair is not going to be rubbing against those fabric and eventually get lint into your locks. Another thing that will help you to prevent lint, and this is also very similar to the previous point, is mind the kind of head coverings you wear, whether it's head wraps, scarves, hats, caps, whatever. Mind the kind of head coverings you wear, because the fabric of the head covering will determine whether you're going to have lint introduced into your locks or not. So choose them wisely. If you can, it's best for you to wear those head coverings that are lined with satin. There are so many brands these days that make those kinds of head coverings. Like, there's a brand called Kinfolk, I think that is Kinfolk on Instagram. They have hoodies that are lined with satin. You know, there are so many brands now that make head wraps and caps and hats and stuff that are friendly for our kind of hair, that are lined with satin and silk. So you can look into that instead of just buying your head coverings anyhow and wearing whatever you like and eventually regretting along the line. Now, those are all the tips I have to share when it comes to reducing or preventing lint in your locks. Now let's move on to how you can prevent build-up. Now, the first thing, and I feel like this is the most important thing that you have to do to prevent build-up, is to reduce the quantity of products that you put in your locks. Like I said, like I always say in most of my videos, locks and loose natural hair are not the same. With locks, you don't need so much products. A little goes a long way, because the more quantity of products you put in your locks, the higher your chances of having build-up. Even if the products are light products and they are lock friendly and stuff, when you put too much products in your locks, there's a high chance that can cause build-up. Because basically, what is build-up? Build-up is accumulation of anything whatsoever, be it dirt, be it lints, be it products, most likely. So try as much as you can to reduce the quantity of products you put in your locks, and to do you a lot of good. Like, sometimes even when you use products that you should not be using on your locks, like that people feel that can cause build-up, if you use just a little, you'll be fine. Right? So try the first thing, and I feel like this is the most important thing you can do to prevent lint in your to prevent lint. This also helps to prevent lint, but to prevent build-up is to reduce the quantity of products you put in your hair. Like I said earlier, if after applying your product you put your hand in your hair and you can feel like you can see obvious product transfer, that's a sign that you have used too much. Make sure that your locks you put just enough to keep your locks looking probably shiny, or I don't know what it is you like to look out for, but make sure that your products don't transfer to surfaces and your hands and stuff. That is how you can prevent build-up. Another thing that you can do to prevent build-up is to avoid using gels and waxes and basically those thick products that are really stable, that are not like really easy to wash out. those products cause buildup, especially gels and waxes. Now shea butter also falls in this category. I am sure that if you have watched several log videos, you've heard people say that you should not use shea butter in your locks, but I use shea butter for my locks. As you guys, if you have watched my videos, then you know that already. I use shea butter, and so far I have not had any issues with lint, and that's because shea butter and gels are not the same, shea butter and waxes are not the same, and also because I use just a little bit. I don't use a lot of shea butter. Shea butter can actually cause buildup if you use too much. Like, it can definitely cause buildup. I'm not disputing that fact, but because I use just a little, I'm able to get the benefits of shea butter for my locks, the shine and the blackness and everything, without introducing buildup into my locks because I use just a little. So I'm not saying you should go and use shea butter. If you want to use, you can give it a try, but all I'm saying is I use shea butter, and yes, I don't have buildup because I use just a little. Now, another thing that you can do to prevent buildup, and I feel like many people do not know this, or many people do not pay attention to this, is always make sure that you rinse your hair or your locks properly, like thoroughly, after you wash or like use a conditioner or whatever. On wash day, make sure you rinse your locks. Now, when you have loose natural hair, you can just do a shabby walk, rinse, and then you come out, and maybe you see soap in one part of your locks, and in one part of your hair rather, if you have loose natural hair, and you may just ignore it and go on to styling. With locks, you cannot do that. Make sure you rinse thoroughly. Make sure that when you're rinsing your locks, you have absolutely no product left, no shampoo left. If you're one that you like to condition your locks, make sure that you have no conditioner left. Make sure you rinse thoroughly. Stay in the shower for as long as possible to make sure that you rinse. Squeeze your locks to make sure that if some of those products have gotten into the core of your locks, you squeeze them out and basically bring them out. Rinsing is so important if you're trying to avoid buildup. Rinsing your locks is so important, especially on wash day. So don't ignore that, don't forget that whenever you wash your locks. Now, another thing you can do to prevent buildup is to make sure that you wash your locks regularly, especially if you live in a dusty environment. Yeah, we talk about buildup. We talk about the fact that buildup mostly comes from products that you put in your locks, but you can also have buildup of dirt and dust in your locks, and that can only happen when you don't wash your locks regularly. How regularly or how regular you wash your locks depends on so many factors. It depends on your lifestyle. It depends on how your environment is, how dusty it is. It depends on whether you wear your locks out or you wear your locks covered and things like that. But just make sure that you wash your locks regularly. When you look at your locks and you can see that it's starting to look dull and dusty, not as bright and vibrant as it used to look, that's a sign that you're getting some buildup of dust and stuff on it, and that's a sign that you should go ahead and wash. So I cannot come and say wash every week or wash every 2 weeks or whatever. Find a routine that works for you, but just make sure that you wash your hair regularly that fits your lifestyle. Nothing you can do to prevent buildup, and this doesn't apply to everybody, but if you're someone that usually have issues with like flaky scalp and dry scalp and things like that, then I highly recommend that you incorporate oiling your scalp. Incorporate oiling your scalp from time to time to help prevent that, because those dead cells, those flakes and stuff that come from dry scalp and all that can also cause buildup. So if you make it a habit to oil why can't I talk? I can't talk. Okay, I can talk. So if you make it a habit to oil your scalp regularly, you're going to prevent all those flakes and dryness and all that, and that will also help to reduce how often you have accumulation of those on your hair and on your locks and eventually cause buildup. So if you have those issues, if you have those scalp issues, make sure you pay good attention to your scalp, oil your scalp regularly so that you prevent those dead cells from coming on into your locks and then eventually causing buildup. And washing your locks regularly also helps, because no matter what you do, it to get to a point where your scalp has gotten to the point where it's irritated, is showing those dead cells and stuff on it. So that's a sign that it's time for you to wash. So those are all the tips I have to share with you guys. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you try any of these tips and they work, please go ahead and let me know down in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video and if you know anybody that will find this video helpful, please go ahead and share it. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in my next video.